yet?
27? Just buffering.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we change it to low latency if it buffers less.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go live.
We aren't
Can you
live
hear
yet.
me?
Okay,
Just
cool.
yet.
We can hear you.
Alright, I'm done playing that.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're gonna start out with the normal, the new normal start with a quick
Hello,
meditation session.
Fardeen.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Hi,
what's up,
Fardeen.
man?
Wait, there were two things there. Hello, Sabian. Not much. Zach just logging on for the stream.
Awesome, man.
Sweet.
Well, we're just about to hop
Uh,
into meditation.
oh wait, has it started already?
You just began.
It started 1 minute ago.
Oh, okay. I came at the right time then. All right. Well, let's get on to meditation.
So actually, I wanted to elaborate on the meditation practice real quick, like for just a minute. So when you're doing your meditation, you should be breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth, and when you're breathing in, you should be trying. You should be focusing on using the muscles that allow you to. Oh, hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
How y'all
Anyways,
doing?
good. We're just about to start meditation.
Awesome.
So, as I was saying, when you're breathing, you should be focusing on the muscles to try and fill from the top of your lungs down to the bottom of your lungs. So, like your abs wouldn't expand to pull down your diaphragm to expand the rest of your lungs until you're almost full of breath, and then the reverse is true when you breathe out. Typically, I try and count to 5 on breathing in and breathing out, keeping it at like a steady rate because it'll get your heart rate to like a steady pace. Anyways, I don't want to dive too deep into it. Let's get to it. Alrighty. So we don't have a lot to talk about as far as like coding goes today. A lot of it's going to be a higher level. We do have some exciting announcements. The first one, we're just going to do announcements first. The OneLeaf website is live. If you go to oneleif.com, big shout out to Arik for helping me figure out the AWS stuff to make this work. But yeah, if you go to oneleif.com, the current status of our website is currently publicly available, which is super exciting.
It's just loading for me.
Okay.
Am I spelling this correctly? It's just oneleaf.com.
Yeah, HTTPS is what you need. It uses SSL.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Let me know if it works.
Still loading. So,
Interesting.
yeah, no status update on my part.
It works for me.
Alright.
Fardeen, where are you
All
located?
right. Canada. Well, Toronto.
The
Yeah.
DNS servers might take a while to like propagate out the changes.
Yeah, and my internet isn't the best right now, so I'd imagine that's not helping either.
Well, onto unless anybody has any input on the OneLeaf website, that's just kind of super exciting for everybody. It like shows off all the hard work everybody's been doing.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see it come along.
Well, the second announcement we announced during the meetup stream last week. However, we did get informed that there were some technical difficulties and the stream kind of cut out, so we wanted to reiterate. OneLeaf has its first organizational partner. Their name is Bread for the Journey. They're a local nonprofit, local to Omaha, where Zach, Susie, and I are from. They actually, so their goal is to provide funding to new nonprofits so that they can handle things like getting a website, paying for legal fees and whatnot. And we actually got our funding through them, so we wanted to be able to give back and be able to spread the love. So what we're going to be doing for them tentatively is helping them redesign their website so that they can get more discovery. That's not the right word, but we'll go with it. So the meeting that we're having with them is not decided yet, but we will let you guys know as soon as we hear more about it. The goal is to kind of get an idea of what the requirements are and then come back to you guys and see if it's feasible and whatnot.
Yeah. So a little bit more on it. I think the first phase they were wanting just kind of a design review, really getting estimates on what could change and everything, but also keeping in mind they would really like customization, so that if a board member leaves or if something changes or if they support a new nonprofit or if they have a post, just really easy updates to anything would be necessary, because right now I think they actually have to go into the code or something like that. So, but yeah, that's just kind of the summary of that.
And I don't know if we want to keep elaborating on it, but I did have an idea that we could set them up something kind of like WordPress, where they have some sort of easy view to go in and edit things. That'd be kind of cool if we could manage something like that, or give them some easy tool to edit the database for partners and board members.
Yeah, I think after we have some design review on it and kind of just understand what the scope of the website entails, then we can kind of pick out what platform we'd want to go with, or
Yeah,
I mean, web, but what
yeah,
like
back end,
developer
front
kit
end.
or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with Zach. Design review would give us a lot of scope details. Um, yeah, even whether like the CMS is important or not is just an assumption at this point.
Farty,
Mhm.
question for you. So
Yes.
we're setting up this wiki for contributing to GitHub, for starting an open source project. I think we should do something similar for the design side, and we've talked about it a little bit. But I think it'd be cool to kind of have a set of, these are the questions you should ask, and these are the processes that you should go through to make sure we have all the questions answered before we like commit to a project. And I think that'd be something that you and Susie would be really good at.
Yeah, that was actually one of my discussion points for today. As OneLeaf becomes more and more of an organization, right now um, things are very for lack of a better word, scrappy. It's done in a very ad hoc, agile manner right now. Everyone just comes in with the projects, and if there are any One Leaf projects, we're just contributing to it in a very ad hoc process. It is getting a bit more formalized. Now there's meetings. Now there's processes for change requests, and then for scope control, and then so on and so on. But as OneLeaf grows, I think that standardization is going to become increasingly important, especially for organizational projects and especially for partner projects, because you want to ensure that consistency.
Yep.
Daniel actually touched upon this with the brand documentation. I think that's just one piece. Um, but Sabian, you just mentioned another piece as well. How do you set up the project management plan and then have that framework? Even if it is just versions of that framework, how do you still have that set framework for people to follow if they are going through an organizational project? Or if they want to manage their own project, how do you give them a template to kind of follow? And customize. That's something I've been thinking about, and we can definitely get started on that and create a wiki for it. Typically, you'd use Confluence for stuff like this.
GitHub has
Um,
something similar as far as wikis go.
yeah, well, like Notion, the one of the tools that I mentioned, I think 2 streams ago.
Hmm.
They're free and they have unlimited contributor plans they have unlimited contributors and unlimited pages under the free plan. um, and they essentially function like Confluence. So they exist as a wiki, and you can use that as a knowledge base and dump things in there and give it to people to join. Um, so yeah, it's something I've been thinking about personally, and I'm glad you brought it up. But it's definitely a huge discussion on its own and a process in itself.
It will almost be
Trying
a
to,
project of its own.
yes, absolutely. It's essentially creating a knowledge base from scratch.
So I think we kind of beat a dead horse there. We can reconvene on that during the meetings. So some reminders of some things that we've been doing recently. If you haven't yet, go check out the One Leaf Medium publication. I believe it's just medium.com/oneleaf.
Yeah.
But
Check out
that's
some
it.
of
Uh,
those, or feel free to contribute if you
was
need any
Tina's
ideas. Yeah.
article the last one?
Yep,
Or
Tina
okay.
put out her Sunday Wombo Combo number 3.
I believe I'm already following it. Let me just double check.
Hmm. So as we get more people and whatnot, this will be a great place for us to share information and make it more publicly available.
Um, are there any tags on the posts themselves?
I think the editors themselves do that.
Because that might be something to consider. Tags might help with finding the article for the general public. So and better SEO.
It does not
Um,
appear so. I think that the only like real SEO you get is your title and description. I have to go look at one of my articles. I'll do it after stream.
yep, no worries. How do I? I haven't been on Medium on the desktop version at least for a while, so I'm trying to find my
Oh,
followers or
wait,
following list.
Will noped out.
I maybe disconnected.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Discord can be kind of finicky. Um, okay, on to the next reminder. Daily progress. If you're not a part of it, be a part of it. Go look in the interest channel, sign up for it. Uh, I've come to find that the people that become a part of it are more active in One Leaf in general, and some people who have been struggling to get things done have started getting things done, um, and they're starting to actually work on their knowledge base and whatnot. So it's a great little system. Um, that kind of leads into the next topic that we are going to talk about, mentorship. So Zach and I were chit chatting about this earlier this week, um, about how a lot of the mentorship that I do is in private chats when it gets to be too long of a conversation. We don't really have like any sort of formalized process where like once it hits 10 messages or whatever, move it to a private channel. It's just once it. Personally, I had just done it based on once I felt like I was flooding the chat, but
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice to have some sort of program where we could have people sign up for the mentorship role, and we have channels dedicated for those type of things. So that way, Zach and I can keep an eye on it. For example, Fardine, if you want to mentor other designers, it would be useful for us to be able to track what you're saying, what that person's interested in, their progress. But also, Zach and I have differing viewpoints on how things should be handled. For example, if somebody comes in and they say, "I want to learn programming," Zach may take it a completely different way than I will. So it's kind of almost a we don't want to step on each other's toes, but we also want to make sure that we're offering the best advice possible. Um, and as
Mm-hmm.
Zach and I have become mentors, we've also found that each of us can forget things. Either we either go too complicated or too simple, or we may not lead them down the best path possible. So having a more of a formalized program might help with that. The other part is that um, I've mentored up to, I don't know, 30 to 40 people at the same time, and that just gets unmanageable.
Yes.
Um, so putting some sort of hard cap on either, like a buddy program, where basically saying this mentor is responsible for these 2 to 3 people, and then they kind of do a weekly stand up and say the people that I'm responsible for have done this week. This is what I've done to help them, and then kind of trickle it up to the leaders of One Leaf, so that way we can make sure that everybody's on track, similar to the daily progress channel, but more, I want to say, a little bit more formal, so that way you have a single person responsible for you. You don't just shout out what you've been doing into a channel. You have somebody that says, "I'm going to check in on you every day and make sure you're getting things done." That way, they kind of have that commitment and that accountability.
Right.
Anything to add to that, Zach?
No, I think that's great. It's just building little groups or little teams that can all communicate together. And I think you said it great. That kind of shouting into a channel, it seems different from my perspective to say something in a channel than it does for someone that just joined or someone that's been inactive for 2 weeks, especially if it's a daily channel and you haven't been in it for a while. So yeah, no, I think having a buddy system would definitely be easier and better.
And how we handle that is kind of what we wanted to. We kind of just wanted to. Tina brought. I think it was Tina. Hold on, let me go scroll back. I don't want to misquote myself. Oh no, this is the Fardine actually brought this up. Uh, but yeah, we kind of wanted to just brainstorm about how this would actually be implemented, because I could see a few ways. Zach and I could create like a group of channels, like a mentoring 1 through 4, and then we could assign a group to mentoring channel 1 or mentoring channel 2 or whatever, and then that would kind of minimize the conversation, and we could kind of group the mentoring channels to being like a development one, a design one, and so on. So that way we could kind of keep things in a similar set of interests. So that way you're not just seeing messages from people of things that you have no knowledge or interest in. Um, the other way I could see it happening is if we set up group chats and private messages, and then Zach and I are also in those group chats. I don't know if I necessarily like that one because I kind of want to keep things in One Leaf.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe we can think about adding this to the website later on. I don't know.
Uh, Yeah, no, it's definitely tricky. I've got a couple of thoughts on it.
Yeah, hit me.
So to pick one thing first, let's say you do go with the channel approach. The problem that I foresee with that is what then distinguishes mentorship discussions, let's say, or topic discussions where you are getting that advice from a mentor, or you're speaking about a particular topic and then you're teaching someone something. What distinguishes those conversations in a specific channel versus conversations on, let's say, the feedback channel, or like the resource discussion channel, or the UXD channel?
So the
Um,
conversations themselves, not so much. It's more of the daily required accountability of having a specific person responsible for you getting things done.
uh, Follow up question to that is, um, would that then become a bit too administrative for something that should have that's something that should be a personal relationship?
Yeah, so I
And
Yeah,
think sorry to interrupt. I
no, no, no,
I
I was
think
gonna say, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, I think Sabian's being a little too literal. I wouldn't imagine the mentorship and mentee role as a daily commitment.
Right,
It's more of as the mentee needs it. It's never the mentor attacking the mentee because like there's we already have the daily progress channel for
right.
people that want to do this. So I imagine kind of just the mentees like, hey, I'm trying to look for some jobs. I'm interested in this, or what I'm interested in. You know what I can do. Can you give me some advice on what to look for? And like that's kind of the relationship I see with it. Not like, hey, did you do your kata today? I
Right,
mean,
right,
that's for us to mess around and the
right.
daily progress for anything like that.
so how do
So
we
that's my
distinguish that
two cents on
from the career advice channel, for example? That specific
Exactly. That's
situation.
that's the first question I had too. That, well, how do those conversations then differ? Because we are doing peer mentorship to a degree already.
Like, I agree that it should be a personal relationship, so that way you want to talk to the person rather than shouting out to a channel.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then, if you don't do that, then, like you said, it gets almost too formalized.
Um, a suggestion that I have is that it might be best to just leave it as an organic process and um, not necessarily formalize it. We can create some documentation on what a good mentor mentee relationship is, give some tips to mentors, maybe have a mentors channel where mentors can discuss challenges they're facing with teaching a mentee something, or just having mentorship discussion, and sharing resources on how to be a good mentor. But I think uh, organic might be the best, especially because as the community grows, there's going to be tons of people. It's going to be hard to manage everyone and have them report on what's happening and then checking in. And as each mentor has more mentees, it's just going to exponentially grow. I think them being able to message each other, create those personal bonds outside and inside the community might be the best way. Whereas we just give training wheels and guidance rather than necessarily overseeing it, even to the slightest extent.
So
Yeah,
the only
that's kind of
go ahead.
that's kind of how I originally saw it. I meant to say voluntary mentor, which
Mm-hmm.
means like you click a role and it pops up as a role that, oh, that's a mentor I can talk to and that stuff. The only channel that I originally saw that we'd need maybe is like a mentor channel so the mentors can say, hey, I'm going to, or like they can at least know who they're mentoring versus if three mentors are mentoring like the same person, then like I don't know if we should like try to combat that because as Sabian said, we might be teaching different things like, hey, you should learn Python or you should do this. And so that's how I originally saw it, but I do imagine it, yeah, as an organic process where it's not like people are bound to this mentor and that stuff. It's free flow, anything like that.
That's actually a good point, Zach. Maybe then we can establish instructions to say that, hey, if you do want to reach out to a mentor and you wanna learn from them, that's a more personal relationship, and that's more in-depth discussion than what the channels have. And if you have any general questions about things, post them in the channels.
Yeah.
Maybe a distinction might help there.
Yeah, because I've had conversations with people, and they'll send me a video or something, and I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Put that in the feedback channel and get feedback. Like the Hue cycle where he
Right,
released, it was like, dude, come on, like, or just reminder.
right.
So I think there's still that kind of come back and share what we've done, successfully, or give a shout out to them. So, but yeah, no, I like your points there.
Um, Another thing to consider too is how edge cases or negative cases, let's say, um, or any risks in these scenarios might reflect back on the organization. Let's say a couple of people, or even one person, had a bad relationship with a mentor, or a mentor had a bad relationship with a mentee. Um, Things went wrong, unfortunately. How does that then reflect back to oneleif? Especially if oneleif is more integrated into that mentorship overseeing process, right? I think if it's a bit more general and um, if it's more hands off, then it's less responsibility administratively. Um, but that's also something to think about.
So
Yeah, no,
I
that's a really good point.
yeah, that is a good point. I'm conflicted here, right? Because some of the people that have just organically joined, like you, Fardine, none of us
Mhm.
specifically reached out to you and like pulled you back in, right?
Right.
But I would also see you as a bit more of an extrovert than some.
Oh, Will is back. Sorry to
Hi, Will.
interrupt.
Go ahead.
Um,
Uh,
uh,
Sorry for interrupting.
no, you're fine. So I see people like Fardine and whatnot that are just so interested and so enthusiastic that they'll just join in the conversation and have no problem with it. And I hate to throw Tina under the bus, but Tina, for example, she came in and she chit chatted, and me and her became good friends. And then she was MIA for a couple weeks, and I personally reached out to her and was like, "Hey, where in the world have you like, where'd you go?" And she messaged me, and we messaged back and forth for a little while, and she got back into oneleif. And I don't know if she would have had I not done that. So I almost think, and secondarily, some of the people that join and put in an introduction, if they don't have somebody reach out to them and say, hey, like it's cool what you're working on, or like, I see you want to do data science or whatever, what projects are you interested in? Without having somebody explicitly reach out to them and get them involved in the conversation, a lot of people just wouldn't. So maybe what would be the best here is not having any specific mentor role or having any specific mentor channel or anything, but having almost like a rotation of I don't know if it's a bot or whatever, but as people join and put in introductions, we have a rotating list of like, um, let's say there's 5 of us. Every fifth person that joins, I'm responsible for going and just sending them a private message or adding them in the general channel and asking them a question and getting the conversation started.
I
But
think a
that's so
bot would
like
be a better
geary. It's like
person.
falling into a machine. Like it's just over and over. It's like,
That and yeah, Zach has a great point, because what happens when it
yeah.
starts scaling, and how do you then account
Well,
for um,
yeah.
Hopefully,
uh,
by that point, the core team would be larger. I guess.
That was kind of my
right?
thought.
But at the same
Hmm.
time, do you want everyone involved in this process when their efforts are already going to projects and then maintaining the
Hmm.
channels as well? Like, this is another thing to add,
Yeah.
when this could be a specific role in itself. Maybe um, I don't know. There's like a community animator role. I'm looking at the community manager title right now, but something along those lines, where it might be a specific role for people who are very interested in that, or want to volunteer as a community animator. Maybe it's up to them to kind of check in more often. But I agree with Zach. I think it might get a bit too difficult to manage as it grows.
Yeah. And going back on the point that Sabian had of we need to reach out to these people that don't use the Discord or aren't active. I agree with
Yeah.
that. But
Yes.
I think we could use the mentor channel for that, being like, hey, can you guys check in on these people? They have the same interest as you. They marked
Hmm.
iOS, and it's a lot more meaningful to reach out,
There you go. That
if you
works.
have some experience in that stuff. It's like, hey, I noticed you're not inactive in OneLeaf. How are you doing in iOS? Is there any projects that we can talk about? Just kind of starting
Right.
that like double connection of like, we're worried about you at OneLeaf, and also like, what can we talk about?
Right. I think that's a great point. Yes, I absolutely agree with the fact that people who are drifting away, maybe some reintegration interactions would be beneficial. If you if that is an approach that is undertaken, though, one thing to probably consider is maybe having some sort of um, data sheet where we can track who is more active but are dropping off and who hasn't been active at all, and just distinguish between them.
Zach had the idea
Um,
for a bot that would kind of message and say how many days it's been since people have messaged.
that's yeah, no, that's a great idea. That kind of solves that purpose.
But yeah, maybe maybe this is an idea for the OneLeaf website to add a Discord hook to like reach into Discord, grab how many people haven't messaged in a while, and then give us kind of like a if we have roles or something in it. Sorry, what were you saying, Will?
Some sort of metric to display.
Yeah, exactly. And then like it's some
Mhm.
sort of role when you log in that says if you are a mentor, you'll get this list.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I
Okay.
think that definitely works. As long as again there's that list to distinguish, because going through what 150 plus people, that's going to be.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's
Fardine, I've been
ridiculous.
trying to do it for a long time. I cannot keep up, dude. And like Discord will only allow you to send 20 messages a day, I think, to people that you're not friends with. And like I hit
Right.
that cap like every day for a couple months. And it was very draining. So like being able to spread the effort there would be amazing.
Right. No, it's going to be tricky for sure.
But yeah,
Um,
I think we've kind of come up with the best solution here is have some sort of role or some sort of elective thing where people can opt in to send messages to people that haven't been interacting in a while.
yeah, or be identified as a mentor so that people can also direct message them instead too.
Yeah, and that might also help facilitate contact just organically as well. If they see a specific mentor role, they're like, oh, I could just like reach out to this person. Like this is what they're here for.
Right, right, absolutely. I think to speak to Zach's point to having kind of like a living document of what are some good practices, what are some good tips. Those would be beneficial.
So it looks like we have documentation for mentor tips, a mentor discussion / resource channel, a OneLeaf website role for people to reach out, and then a Discord role as well.
Hmm.
That seems like a feasible and quality solution to me.
Mhm.
Any other notes?
While we're on the topic of channels, unless like, are we ready for a topic switch, or
No,
is
yeah.
that everything on mentorship?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So on topic of channels, um, this is my personal opinion, but I think maybe there might be a few channels that can be merged to reduce the
Yeah.
For example, direction and voting is essentially the same thing.
And meetings hasn't been a thing for a while because we kind of do it per project basis. Now that
Right.
meetings kind of fell off in usefulness now that we have the weekly stream.
And brainstorming as well is a bit redundant with topic specific channels. But unless it's strictly for just random ideas,
So
that's cool too.
everything under the work channel is like organization related. So like
Okay.
brainstorming what we could do in the organization, which kind of overlaps with direction, I guess.
Uh, and in that case, I think brainstorming is perfectly fine, but definitely direction and voting would makes less sense to be separate
Yeah.
channels.
And proposals won't be a thing in a while once we have proposals on the website.
Yeah. Um, I think maybe also uh, what was another channel that I was considering? Oh, right. Maybe also thinking about all the development channels that there are there. Um, right now, there's open source, VLang, uh, and web.
Oh,
Also, Android and iOS.
While they seem sparse, I feel like they'll gain more usefulness as we scale up.
and you don't see all of them.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Is there more?
There's
It's
under
based off of the interest that you pick. So
yeah.
you only see
Oh,
iOS, Android, web, and UX.
So
There is algorithm, kata, open source, VLang,
oh,
Git,
okay. So
AR,
I
VR.
was
Yeah. Audio
underestimating.
design. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
so the thing is you opt into those channels, right? So we can never really have
Right.
too many of those.
Fair enough. Okay, that definitely makes sense then. Um. Okay. Yeah.
And like you won't get notifications for the ones that you're not subscribed to either. So There's really no downside, I guess.
I smited the voting channel.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, I saw
streaming
that.
in YouTube as well.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, YouTube can go.
Or I think YouTube kind of.
Oh, well, no.
Oh, never
It's
mind.
gone.
Well, I was
Oh,
gonna say
no.
the title makes sense because you want to feature any video that gets posted under One Leaf rather than just streaming itself.
Well, we can
Yeah,
rename
but
the
we don't
streaming
have a
channel.
Twitter channel.
But
We have public relations.
That's true.
I feel like that covers any type of social media, including
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah, no, that's that. Those are the big offenders in
No, yeah.
my head.
Yeah, none of the other ones
So
like speak to me anymore. I think you got the majority of them.
that might help a bit. Um,
We should probably update the
what
rules.
Yeah.
are we ready for another topic switch?
Yeah.
Sure.
Um, once again, this is my personal opinion. It's not necessarily reflective
We're
of
probably going
anything.
to end up acting on it again.
No, I'd rather this be given more thought by all of us, but and especially Susie and the rest of the core team as well. But to me, right now, there seems to be a disproportionate um, amount of activity given the total members and obviously the active members. Um, one, and then we discussed this in I think 2 streams ago on how to engage people and animate activity and so on. And mentorship is one way. One of the missed opportunities that I'm personally seeing is the lack of projects slash project movement in the existing projects. This doesn't necessarily cover the One Leaf website. That's kind of moving along, and then I think one or two other projects are. But right now, for someone joining in, just kind of empathizing with them,
If
who
they want to
might
work on
be
Java or Python or something, we have nothing.
right, or like anything at all, but they don't necessarily have their own idea, or they don't want to take the effort to start something. They just want to join under the wing of an existing project, work with some more senior folks, and then learn from them as the project moves along.
And sadly, those are
They're
the majority of the
really
people that we get, too.
exactly that's a huge missed opportunity that there's no channels to then direct them to. Right now, it's just hey, check out the One Leaf website, or start your own project, or potentially moving the other existing projects.
So the only
Um,
thing that I think we can do about it is get more members, which will
well,
give us another disproportionate amount, right?
yes, I think maybe a better alternative to solving it is starting one or two extra organizational projects, especially now that the core team has grown enough for the website where people with extra time or if the website project moves along a bit fairly, we can start shifting efforts into another project that we can run in parallel or another two, let's say.
So the next
Uh,
highest priority project will definitely be Bread for the Journey. But I agree
right.
that we should have something in the realm of Java, some sort of maybe even a Java website or just a Java desktop game or project. Um, we should probably have something in the Python slash data sciences realm, which seems to be a common
Exactly.
interest.
Yeah, like I was thinking about Jacob, who joined in recently, and I was
Yeah.
just reading to that like thread as Zach was talking to him and you were talking to him, and uh, yeah, like he seemed, or at least I'm assuming again, but it seemed like he wanted to tag on to a data science project, but
Yep.
um,
And we
there
kind of got
wasn't
him
one,
started. We kind of
unfortunately.
got him started on his own. We got in a
Yes,
private call with him and explained how to get his project started, basically.
right, which is great and perfect. I think for every Jacob, there's like 10 other people who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't feel comfortable enough in Python to take on that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to. I don't know how we like almost like specifically target senior level developers to bring them in, you know. And
Right.
not even senior level developers. It's senior level developers that are okay with mentoring and running a project and whatnot, because it is a lot of work.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not something that is easy to do for sure, and I think I'm also being a bit presumptuous in saying that you should just start a project or two because someone would have to volunteer their time and be the project owner and so on.
And that's almost where they need to be on the core team for a while, or like, you know,
Mhm.
prove that they. I don't want to say prove, but show that they can take on that responsibility, and will continue to do that work.
Right. All right. I think it also comes down to topic as well, like, or at least the mission of the project. Some people might not resonate with wanting to work on the One Leaf website because it's an organizational website, whereas they might be more animated, let's say, to build a website on, I don't know,
Something
pick
random.
X, yeah, like XYZ topic. Like, let's say, I don't know, like some guys interested in PlayStation 2 greatest hits or something, and they're like, yeah, I want to make a website to feature them. This is something random, but like they
Hmm.
might be more invested in something like that. So I think having a portfolio, or at least an increasingly growing portfolio over time, of projects would be one of the next big steps for One Leaf.
Zach, you know what I think we could do for this?
Hmm.
I actually have an idea. We could go reach out into the bigger discords that we're in. For example, I'm in the C Sharp Inn, which has like 2,000 developers. The Game Dev Lounge. You're in the Vapor one, the Swift one. Maybe reaching out to those bigger discords and asking if they want to pull in some of the projects that they're working on into OneLeaf.
That'd be interesting.
But
I
I
mean,
almost think we. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's just it's not gonna fix anything. So, I mean, I think we should. But what else can we do to make sure that we actually get people in here? Because right now, the projects that I know that are actually will have work or are worked on right now are the One Leaf website, the Swift UI kit, my personal one that I'm working on stuff for, and
Hmm.
no one seems to want. So it's at the point of like if someone's working on it and there's no one else, like is it an active project? That's another topic. But OL Go is the One Leaf website on mobile apps for Android and iOS, just to give people that experience.
Hmm.
And then yeah, like Sabian said, bread for the journey. Sabian's working on Bunny Hop, but it's equivalent to Swift UI Kit, where it's more of a personal project that we're actively trying to work on while we do other things. And then
Right.
Vampire Framework, I'd say, is become inactive. I mean, it's just people, have lives outside of One Leaf, and he's
Exactly.
in school, so I totally understand, and it's not anyone's fault or anything. It's just we don't want to mislabel these and give a bad idea of the active projects aren't active, and it's not like a group effort. Like those are the two things that we need: active and a group effort, like
Yes,
regardless of.
and Zach, I think you put it well. You put, yeah, the situation well. That it's very misrepresentative that there's two personal projects that are really active from your end, and then Sabian's end, and there's only one other project beyond that, which is the website. And for a community of 150 plus people, it hurts recruitment because even if you bring in more people, like you said, it gives that false impression of activity when there really isn't. It's just at this point just a community discussion forum rather than actual work forum. Um, on that note, I did have a project suggestion on my end that could probably it wouldn't obviously solve everything, but it might help a bit. Um, so if it's of interest, we can get into that. Um, but I think this was 3 streams ago. I really can't remember. Time is a loose concept in my head. But Zach or Sabian, one of you mentioned that One Leaf is a nonprofit, and when you were starting out and trying to create the organization and then register it, there weren't a lot of resources available on how to create and establish a nonprofit, what's required in terms of documentation, how do you do your taxes, blah blah blah.
I mean, there's plenty of resources. They're just very disparate, and none of them have everything.
Right, like there's no consolidated,
Yeah,
centralized platform, and if there are, they aren't the best to navigate and use
not at
um,
all.
from an experiential standpoint. Um, so yeah, no, that might be a potential problem to tackle as a project as well. Creating that database, and that would also give One Leaf a bit more credibility um, as an overarching product in itself. That you have this curated database full of nonprofit resources and advice and suggestions built in a proper way. that you can then also use to create partnerships with future nonprofits and future partnerships with nonprofits and so on and so on. Yeah, and it might be a different enough topic for some people to be interested in working on and then tagging on to that.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. That fits perfect with Bread for the Journey, supporting other nonprofits where they can reference us to, hey, check out, One Leaf has a resource on how to become a nonprofit.
Right.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, no, I think we could definitely split that whole idea up and give quite a bit of different stacks. I mean, just use Python, for example, for like Python for the back end and some front end and I don't know, Flutter, to just change it up and try to get more interest in it. But really like just have the community vote on it again.
Yeah.
You know what I think?
I
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I think Will was going to say something.
yeah, Will.
Oh, I was just like agreeing.
We should
Yeah.
get a few vastly different website ideas, and then do different front ends and different back ends. So we could do a Vue front end, a Flutter front end, like
Yeah.
basically get all the front ends and back ends that people could want to work on like 4 to 5 different projects, and then people could, that covers everything almost, right? Except for maybe mobile, but they could still have a mobile, hook into the back end.
I mean, you could write it in React Native, and that would
Mm,
do mobile and web. But I was saying like, yeah, we could do Vue for that project.
Dude, I'd love to play with Vue.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd like to
Yeah.
learn Vue too.
And then a lot of the people only know Java or Python because they're some of the more beginner based languages. So we could look at those for the back end.
I was hoping to propose a project also. I discussed it before, and that was the metadata parser, or not the metadata. Oh, yeah. The
Markdown.
Markdown parser.
Yeah.
Markdown.
Okay.
I don't know what to call it yet, but that's going to be a tool that's going to be needed for the website version 2. So I was thinking after version 1, we could create that as its own application and then import it into the website and have that as 2 ongoing projects at the same time.
For like a sub project.
It'd be more of a tool, like a
Oh,
internal
okay.
one.
Independent tool and stuff. Okay. Yep.
But we could put it in a public npm registry so that it could be used by whoever wants to use it. And then if people do use it, look at the resources, look at the GitHub, they could find One Leaf through that. And I was also considering if we since we've been creating our own widgets, like our own inputs, our own search, our own carousel. I mean, it's all open source, so even putting those in their own npm libraries to be used by others would be a good way to recruit to.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
So I have 2 things to add to that. One, we should make a post in like brainstorming our announcements saying we're looking for project ideas, and then do a
Mhm.
vote on them to see which one people are more interested in, so that way we can get the most. And then once we pick the project idea, then we do a vote on front end and back end.
Mhm.
Second, I think Zach and I should look at doing some targeted marketing. I don't want to say marketing, advertising. I don't want to sound formal about this, but basically, like Zach and I, when we were looking for more designers, like you, for example, Fardine, it was just Susie for
Mhm.
the longest time, and then we made some posts in some UI design subreddits, right? I think
Yeah,
the next
I
thing.
think
Sorry,
that's
go ahead.
where I saw it personally.
Yep. So I think the next thing that we need to scale up is to find some project managers, because I know for a fact if I took on more than like 2 more projects, I would just be crap at all of them.
Well, for the nonprofit one itself, if that is a go, I would want to volunteer to manage that just because I'm actually
Mhm.
studying for a project management exam personally,
Oh,
and
perfect.
having like I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with the PMP certification, but you need 4,000 hours of project management experience for that. So
Oh,
this would be a
I'll
good
sign
way
off on
to.
like 100 of that for you already.
Well, they actually audit it and then they want to
Oh,
check on things. So you have to like create a very detailed documentation of what you've done and all of that stuff. So
well,
Okay.
thankfully we're a
um,
nonprofit, so we can be a credible organization for you to get that through.
right. But yeah, no, that would be actually a good way for me to practice my skills and get those hours as well, but also contribute. Um, like I wouldn't just want to be a project manager. Obviously, I do have that design background, and I would still want to contribute from a design standpoint. But in my head, if I had the opportunity to lead that, it would be a very fast moving. In conjunction with the One Leaf website, it would be it would be less of a less of a thrill ride and more of like a let's get this done. We're on a mission kind of thing.
I have a feeling you're gonna find yourself as a community manager here pretty soon, Will or Fardine.
Well, Will's been pretty active too, so let's put Will up on that poll as well.
I asked Will about it. He's too busy.
But
I
yeah,
can
time.
help. Everyone's give us some time.
Sorry, I tried to throw you under the bus.
No, time's definitely the constraint for a lot of people. But yeah,
Will was gonna say something.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I heard you say.
You just keep doing.
He was just breathing loudly.
that also brings
Excited
up
about all this project.
that also brings up a good point on distinguishing project types of whether they are um, uh, whether they're a learning experience for people to kind of join in from the public and they can accommodate X amount of people with no necessary constraints. Whereas something like, let's say, the One Leaf website, which is deadline oriented and needs to be done within a preset scope and can't really accommodate too many changes outside of that. Otherwise, it gets too locked down. So I think that might also help people pick and choose which projects they want to go to. Some people might be a bit more oriented towards getting work done and they want to maybe, I don't know, put something on their resume as quickly as possible. Whereas other people might be more free flow learning. They just want to have fun and meet people, so on and so on.
I almost think we needed, after Zach was talking about it earlier, I almost feel like we needed. Zach brought this up a couple times. We almost need a distinction between active projects and personal projects. Active projects being the former example that you gave of being more deadline oriented, of actually getting something done, and personal projects being more for fun and kind of anybody can hop on it without any major changes to the project.
Right. Yeah, that definitely was a big lingo problem that I think um, I don't know if that was necessarily solved, but um, I personally prefer the organizational heading. I don't know what to distinguish the other projects as, but organizational gives me the sense that this is serious, this is something One Leaf related strictly, and that this is something I'd be working on with One Leaf people or people like that are core members.
We also want something to distinguish that it's almost a commitment. If you do start taking on, tickets and whatnot.
Right. I don't know about personal and active. It's just like that organizational part itself is something I can personally speak to, and that's my interpretation of it. But
I-
the rest, I'm not as. Uh, at least I haven't thought about it as much
If
to
I
comment on it.
if I had to give it wording right now, I would say organizational and side or personal for the second would be the names of the categories.
Um, even things like that. Let's say there is a personal project from some community member, but they're also very strict work ethic. They've got a very strict work ethic, and they want serious people to tag onto their project. How do you then distinguish it again that from a creative free flow project that's more learning oriented?
That's a very good question.
I don't know where I put my message of like the three different active projects, but right now, yeah, it's all lumped into one. We have some organization projects, some personal active projects,
Mm-hmm.
and then I guess we have like an inactive project. Um,
Right.
how I kind of imagine it, and what I'm trying to remember is and not look for the message is that personal projects are just kind of highlighted. Someone can make a proposal, they can come into OneLeaf and be like, "Hey, I have this XML parser and I'd like some help on it. It has, something laid out. It's kind of planned out as a project. It's not just code or, something."
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of their spot to highlight them. The
Mm-hmm.
other two projects are potentially going to receive funding of like, okay, I made an alternative for Slack. It only uses a megabyte instead of 10 gigs.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we'd want to support that and be like, hey, we can pay for some ad, something for you to just kind of like help boost if it's like really new.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, organization projects where obviously we're paying for the back end, we're paying for the database, we're paying, all this stuff. We're full invested in it. So there's those three different layers that I see. I don't know how to organize it. Um, I don't know if we should still spotlight, personal projects or if they should even exist.
I think it is a good distinction, like personal and organizational. It's very clear cut distinctions in my head. I don't see any confusion there. Um, what I would want personally, and I think might help the community, is that sub distinction of serious um, or less serious. Because I can foresee that as a potential challenge, especially for someone coming in with a personal project who wants to get, let's say, that funding, and they want to talk to you guys about it. They want to put this thing out that they've been working on for a while, and they want to recruit some people in the community to help them. How do they personally vet through them, and make sure that those are committed, dedicated people, that they wouldn't just abandon the project halfway through, or mess up the code because they're too new, or blah blah blah? I think creating that distinction takes the responsibility a little more off of them and makes the community more aware of, okay, well, this is a serious project. I shouldn't necessarily commit to it if I'm not ready for it.
Do you think there's a difference between organization and community? So if there's community project versus organization project, does that mean
Uh,
anything different or is that even more confusing?
I think I prefer um, organization. Actually, that might be a good point. I think I like community if there is personal as well. So if there's three
Mhm.
distinctions, there's organization, which is one leaf, community, which is maybe a personal project but with community members working, and
Mhm.
personal, which is just, let's say, one individual solo. They brought their project in just to keep it here and get feedback on it. And they haven't necessarily upgraded to that community level yet.
So I see a
Okay.
very easy distinction with this in um, the website because we can just have tags for it. But in the
Mm-hmm.
Discord, Zach and I were talking about this. I don't remember if it was on stream or over just a private call, but I'm a part of a few Discords where they're like community, like open source projects. We had a guy in here working on like a Ultima Online remake, which is a large RPG, and he has like 15 channels in his Discord server alone. So do we kind of help them set up a Discord server, or do we just have them a channel in here so we can keep track of it? Because like we don't want them to go outside of One Leaf. We want One Leaf to encompass them, but we don't want to make 100 channels either. So
Right.
that's
Now it's coming into that overarching discussion of One Leaf's direction of whether you want to be more of an open platform that just hosts different projects, or if you want to be a bit more consolidated in your efforts and have certain umbrellas.
I think if we're ever at that scale, I think there'd be a good point to have a discussion of moving everything off Discord and onto our own like site and
Mm-hmm.
start the functionality to support all that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
that's a
I
really good
think
point.
that
If we're
I
at that
think
scale where we can't like hold how many channels we have because we have that many active projects,
right, right.
It would basically turn into a Facebook for open source.
Right. And I think
Which
it'll get to a point, going off of Will's suggestion, that eventually project owners themselves might have enough of a following to create their own Discord or Slack or Facebook group.
and honestly, if the One Leaf website is the central location for that, I'm completely okay with that.
Hmm.
I just want to be the facilitator that helps people, do cool things. I guess that's really my goal. Zach, what's your input here?
I'm on the firm standstill of Discord is how we communicate, and for me personally, I'd rather interact with you more on Discord. Or I messed it up. No, I'd rather interact with you more on GitHub than Discord because GitHub's where I'm doing my code. I'm
Hmm.
merging PRs. I'm doing that stuff, and I assume for like Fardeen, if he has a project, then Figma is where he would be more excited to see people coming in doing work versus chatting in Discord because at some point we're limited by what we do in Discord because it's just chatting. We can't code in Discord, we can't design in Discord, and we can't even save files in Discord. We have other places to put those and all this other stuff. I really firmly think that, yeah, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Discord. I think it's just a tool for chatting.
Right. And you touched upon a very good point that right now it's more of a community forum than it is an actual workplace. And as we dive deeper into the projects and as the community grows, that distinction becomes clearer and clearer. because people who are commenting on here might not necessarily be on the GitHub repo or on the Figma workspace contributing. They might just be here for the community discussion aspect. So you need ways to distinguish between these subset and segments of people, and facilitate to them.
I still like being able to come back to Discord and just kind of chit chat, have fun discussion to other developers. But at some point, yeah, there needs to be kind of a drawing the line of this is where I should be doing work, this is where I should be having fun.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with people coming in just to talk here. I think that in itself is completely fine. But I think creating the subcategories of people where um, they can set themselves as a contributor, and whether they're more of, like, again, a learning contributor or a serious contributor, what their goals are, blah blah blah, or if they're just here for the funds and like the community discussions and so on. That's totally fine too. I think just, again, having them being able to distinguish between that. So maybe a rehash of, let's say, the introductions and slash interests, and the tags probably too, I guess.
This will probably have to be a longer discussion with all the core team and whatnot to
Yeah,
to
yeah,
foster
yeah.
some more ideas and whatnot.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
no,
nothing
I like this.
solvable right now.
I'd like to get some more input. So if we can schedule or make a note and to make a meeting to get the rest of the core team and others input on this,
Mm-hmm.
then we
Mm-hmm.
can even break out into a vote for the whole community if we are undecided then. But I love this, but yeah, I would like others' opinions just because.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This, even if it is solved, let's say overnight, I don't think it's immediately deployable in the slightest. So yeah, no, it's probably going to be a discussion for 1 or 2 weeks at the very least.
Well, it's a good thing we kept the meetings channel.
I was about to delete that.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, we'll have to make an announcement of it won't necessarily be a stream, but it'll be kind of a recorded talk. It very well could go way over an hour if we have some just. It's probably gonna be a long discussion because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of ways we can go, and even us leaders of One Leaf aren't 100% set in stone with exactly what we want to do because there's so many options.
Right.
But anyways, I think we've kind of been beating a dead horse here. Tina
Bike
asks,
shedding.
yeah, bike shedding. Yeah, there we go. Tina asked for personal stories of how we got where we are today. I almost would like to request a personal video where I almost interview the whole core team, and we do a singular video of almost a playlist of me interviewing each of you to find out your life story and whatnot. I think that might be better than doing it on stream, but I really do like that idea. Or maybe a set of Medium articles.
Uh, I personally think Medium articles might be the better route if you want marketable material. Um, I've seen a lot of organizations of similar sizes do that, like have member features, for example, and
Yeah,
where they have pseudo text
and
interviews.
that would be something that we could feature on the website as well. Those Medium articles.
Yeah, video might not, as much as video is better than actual text, and no one really reads nowadays. I don't know if you might get enough traffic for the video itself.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll reach back out to Tina and see what she thinks about that because I know she's becoming more and more fond of Medium herself.
Yeah. Um, it's a great platform for sure. And her articles are very in depth, and I appreciate that.
Well, we hit on all the topics. This was an awesome discussion. It may have been boring for others, but I think this was super useful for all of us. Um, I don't really have anything
Mm-hmm.
else planned for this, so we can end it here. And if you guys want to chit chat after, that works for me. Anything else, Zach, for the stream?
No, that's ending on like a perfect hour.
Yeah, yeah, literally. Hold on, let me end it in 30. We're just gonna sit here in silence for 30 seconds, so it can be an exact hour.
Wait for it.
All right, I'm gonna stop.